This is a new experiment on my side. I wanted to make barbacoa. I'm kind of doing it my style. This is not like you're going to find in a restaurant here in Austin. I don't think anybody would complain when it's done, but I went ahead and bought a beef tongue. I already had one in the freezer, but I bought a second beef tongue. It was $30. An entire tongue. It was huge. It was twice as big as the one I got from the farm. I got 4 packages of beef cheeks. So in each of the pots, we're going to wind it with 2 beef cheeks, or 2 packages of beef cheeks, and 1 tongue per pot. After they've smoked 2 or 3 hours, then I'm going to put them in the oven overnight with a little bit of chicken stock, a little bit of water, some salt and pepper, and just cook them down overnight so it just falls apart. We're going to make tacos with it, barbacoa. So let's unveil this. It's a big mess. Now, I think I can be a little mean to these as long as it keeps smoking. I've just been coming in and turning some of this to get it to sear a little bit on the outside and to dry and get some of that good smoky flavor. This is going to cook down and cook down and cook down. This is not something I'm concerned about. This is not a steak. This is something I can be mean to. If I need to put it aside because I need to turn something like this, it's totally fine. I'm going to move these around, put that one on top. There we go. And I have some kosher salt and black pepper if I need to add just a bit more. This side, I think, can I turn that? I think that side can go up. Now you can see what a mess this is. This is me completely messing around. I think that can go on top. Let's move that a little bit closer. And again, I'm not too worried. When I did this last time, did you notice that we got that like crusty kind of edge? I think that was a little bit of a problem because it was just such a small amount. This is such a large amount that I think it's going to be just fine. And when I put this in the pot, it's going to get a little bit more salt and pepper. That's just kosher salt that I used. And in my case, just fresh cracked pepper. Now, that is going to turn dark. It is going to be funky. It is going to be cooked like that. It's tough. It's dry on the outside at the moment, but that's the reason why we're going to cook it with some liquid and cook it down. The chicken stock is pretty mild. It's what I keep talking about using in terms of the carcasses from the chicken. I make chicken stock and put it in containers in the freezer. It's probably about 3 cups of chicken stock per pot. And then when these are done, we're going to put those in and essentially cook them overnight. Some burgers and sausage that I did earlier. I almost always do burgers because I just eat these almost on the daily. These tongues and the beef cheeks smoked for about 3 hours. They were at 200, 250 for the most part. I just wanted some color on the outside and some good smoke flavor before I basically cook this down. I'm preheating the pots on the stove, but that's going to go in the oven overnight at 200 degrees. It is going to cook from 9 p.m. till 9 a.m. I'm just going to let it go. It's going to cook down. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, and the most time-consuming, energy-intensive piece was what we just did. I'm going to grab this larger tongue. You can see these like grill marks from where it was on. Now I guarantee you this is raw on the inside. This is not fully cooked, even though it looks like it's cooked on the outside. I'm not gonna take the skin off around this. I'm gonna leave it just like it is. I'm just gonna try to make sure if I slice it about here, I think I'm gonna have a little bit for each pot that I can measure out. Yeah, it's just raw on the inside, which is exactly what I thought. Now, lengua and cachete, I think is what they called it. Cachete is the cheek meat. The cheek meat has a ton of connective tissue, has a ton of fat, ton of collagen. Beef cheeks, if these are trimmed up, it's almost like a little mini brisket, a little personal brisket. So I'm going to put the tip of one of these in a pot, this entire other in here, and then I'm going to put this entire guy into the other pot. Now, it is going to take me some work and probably some trimming to be able to get these into those pots and then keep it covered in water. But it's one of the reasons I wanted to cook it low and slow overnight. If I had an appropriate smoker, I would probably trim these and start doing that and just smoking beef cheeks. But for now, I thought this was a great way to use like an offcut. The tongue and the beef cheeks, I think it was about $3.89 a pound. It was not really that much different than say like ground beef as far as its price. This is going to have a lot more fat in it, and because of its size, again, I'm just going to take this and slice it. And you can see it's got some color on the inside, but it's not nearly broken down. It's going to take me some cleaning and trimming. And when I say cleaning and trimming, I'm putting all of this, including the fat, in the pots. I'm just going to have to cut it into small pieces to make it fit, so I can just coat it with a little bit more water and make sure you don't want it to dry out. You absolutely want it to be moist. What's going to happen is the protein in that is going to break down. It's just going to shred. The fat in it is going to break down in addition to the chicken stock. I add a little bit of kosher salt, a little bit of black pepper to the pot. They're just going to cook down overnight. It's going to go all night. We have sausages and burgers. We usually crack open beer, but it's 9:46 in the morning, so we're having coffee. This is one of the pots that I use to cook this overnight. It's probably going to go till about noon. I went ahead this morning when I got up. It's mostly done, but I want it to soften just a little bit, and I'm not sure about the tongue because I have not done this before. I'm going to take the tongue out. And this is the one from the store. This is a really large cut. I want to see if I can get the skin off of here. I'm told that it separates really easily this way. There we go. And that's absolutely clean. It pulls right off. And it's super, super tender. There's some fat there, which I'm not worried about. I just want to make sure that the skin itself is pulled. And yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, let me set this back. We keep all that fat there. All the fat and connective tissue is fine. I just don't want the skin. We can't use that. No, I guess you could feed it to the dog, maybe. The dog will certainly like that. Let me pull this and see. Same thing. This was whole. So where can we get a grip here? There we go. And absolutely, this is the easiest. I've only made tongue one other time, and it was remarkably good just in the oven. It was from a local farm, so it had like a little bit of a gamey kind of texture, flavor to it, I should say. There we go. Peel this other last piece off. Lengua is greatly unappreciated in some cultures, meaning a lot of very lily white people. Other cultures, they really make great use of this. That's absolutely awesome. I think I'm going to slice this into smaller pieces just so it's easier to fit in the pot. I didn't go into great detail when we were setting up, but you can tell, look at this. I mean, it's essentially done. I could just let it go like it is, but I think that's going to be phenomenal. Let me take the big piece here. I'll probably do the same thing. This feels like it's even a little bit softer, to be honest. But I mean, it's almost like falling apart. I just want to slice it in smaller pieces so it fits in the pot even easier. And those pots were full. I have a tendency to almost go overboard. If you pay attention to my other work as a body worker, entrepreneur, it's just natural for me to push edges, and I don't seem to be able to go small. I'm always like, well, let's just transform an entire industry. I'm the same way when I cook. Sometimes I just make too much. People are like, dude, how many people are you feeding? And I'm like, well, the neighborhood, if they want to come over. I'm like, if you're going to do it, you might as well Make enough for everybody, right? My neighbors will never get angry that I made barbacoa for them. Let's see, peel that off. Oh man, that was so easy to come off. When I did this before, I actually sliced it before it was cooked, and I think that doesn't work as well at all. That was just so easy to peel. Now it makes an ungodly mess. It smells absolutely amazing. I think that's all I'll need for this. I'm gonna put this to the side. There we go. Just gonna rinse to get some of that fat off of my hands. And then what I did was, we had about 2 cups of chicken stock per pot, and then it cooked down overnight. And I want to show you this because I reserved this and strained the liquid. This is full of beef fat, full of that smokiness from the oak. This is what's the stock, if you want to call it. This is going to be used in the masa for the tortillas. Now, I've never made tortillas from scratch before. This is going to be the first time I've done this. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be really hard to mess up. So we've reserved liquid. There's still liquid in here. Let me move this to center stage so you can see this. And we're going to show this again, or show it off later. Let me see there. Pull that off. Now, that's still going to get another couple of hours treatment in the oven. But, I mean, look at this. The way it falls apart. Look at that. I mean, it literally just falls apart. I want to add the tongue meat back to the pot, just about half and half for each. The tongue is a bit more lean. What's up, Tier? I know what you want. I can't imagine why a dog would be in here like requesting scraps. I'm gonna make sure that's mostly submerged, and again, half and half. One more piece. And I wanted to make sure it was mostly covered. Like I said, it was about 2 cups of chicken stock. I added about 4 cups of water. It was more than I thought. I just was afraid that it was gonna dry out, and I hadn't done this in this oven since this is a new home for us. I went ahead and put this in overnight. It's about 10 o'clock now. It's gonna go till about noon. I'm gonna cover this and just keep going. Any of the liquid that we have, if we need more, we're just going to reserve it. If I have extra, I'm just going to strain it just like I did and freeze it. I think it'd be good in chili. This is how I, kitchen thrift, like make use of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the oven, and I think we're good. The next phase, and I've already got the beer. So I'm going to show you this real quick. We had 2 pots full of the barbacoa. It's just beef cheeks, cachete, and lengua, just tongue. I went ahead and cooked this all night. This is the bowl that I chipped up. So this is essentially ready to go on tacos. This is essentially fat and just connective tissue, and then I've got liquid here. I'm going to likely strain all of this and save it. I suspect some of this is going to wind up in chili. The other, I'm not quite sure. I might make something else, like a casserole with it. But I wanted to show, I'm gonna go ahead and part the rest out here. And when I say part it out, what I mean is I'm going to shred this so you can see. This is a bit of tongue, and it's just gonna pull, just shred apart. You can always come in and cut this, but this is so broken down. I mean, look at this, it just pulls apart, and I absolutely think, be mean to it. This is not a process of being nice. This all completely gets shredded for the tacos. This is, oh man, I can't even explain what this smells like. The entire house has just smelled like heaven overnight. Again, another piece of tongue there. We're gonna pull that apart. It's got a little bit of thicker kind of connective tissue there. The tongue is way less fatty, The cheeks are complete fat. I mean, it's just massively so. But it's going to get mixed all together. Somebody eating a taco isn't even going to know what this is. If you have kids and you don't think they'll eat this, what I would do is like disguise it. I don't think a kid would even know what this is. I know that when I went to Texas restaurants here in Central Texas, I would order barbacoa tacos and I'd eat it, and I'm a cook. And it took me a long time to figure out what the hell are they doing to this? Because it was the most amazing flavor profile, the most unctuous meat, but I couldn't figure out, I had never had anything like it before. There we go. Just some fat there. And I also let this completely cool. You do not, look at this. Is it broken down? Yes. So I'm taking the meat out and putting the fat aside. It's plenty fatty. Cece in particular likes more meat and less fat. She likes when it's tasty, but she generally just doesn't like fat as much as I do, specifically if it's like big hunks of fat. And again, what do? I am not nice to it, just pull it apart. This is all gonna get chipped up. If we have any extra, it's just gonna get frozen. I like being in a situation where I had some barbacoa. I think that if I had to choose, I might in the future take like a chuck roast or something that's not quite as fatty. Just get the regular, not the prime, and cook it with this just to beef up the meat along with the connective tissue fat that you get from the cheeks. I think that might bulk it up, and I don't think it's going to significantly change the flavor profile. Look at this, guys. Holy moly. Dude, I can't even explain to you what this smells like at the moment. Looks like that's mostly meat there. And it's still warm, but you do not want to get into this when it's hot. Just let it sit. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. This stopped cooking at like noon. So it's been 3 hours. It's just sitting and just steeping in its own juices. Now we've got some more fat, and I'm trying to feel around for bits of flesh there because I want the meat, but I don't want those huge chunks of fat. Cece isn't going to want those. If you want to eat them, feel free. Chef's treat there. But that is all fat, connective tissue. There we go. Now some fat on it, yes, but big chunks, she just doesn't care for that, so I tend to take it out. And again, none of this is going to be wasted. Don't feel like this is not going to get eaten, because it is, I promise you. That's the tip of the tongue right there. It's way more lean. Just pulling it apart. And in a bit here, I'm going to take out the masa and go ahead and roll out the, I say roll out, but I'm going to make tortillas. I've never made corn tortillas. We're going to try this out and see how it goes. If I fail, I have some pre-made ones, but I suspect this is going to work pretty well. I don't expect it to be perfect, especially the first time I do it. Fat. Connective tissue, connective tissue, connective tissue. Oh man, it's like just such fine bits of meat through there. I must have to peel, there we go, like peel it off. There's just like a thin layer of meat in there with the fat. Now, if I get a better smoker, I think I want to smoke beef cheeks, and then I'm going to have to find like a cheaper supply somehow. Beef cheeks, cachete is just, dude, I can't. So if you smoke it, it's a little bit more like a little personalized brisket. I've had it in various ways that I've prepared, but see all of this, it's just a big blob of fat right there. Let's pull that apart. A little bit of meat, a little bit of fat and meat. Huge. This was from the one that I saved. Right at the tail end. Now that is going to be reserved. All of that liquid and all of the stock, the fat, this is what's going in the taco itself. I'm just going to pat this down and probably cover it in just a little bit. Look at how shredded this is. It's got some salt, but it's not overwhelming. This is going to be put aside, and then we're going to work on the tortillas and see how we do. All right, we have separated the fat from essentially the stock. The beans. Guys, you're not making refritos? What are you doing? So the liquid that the cachete and the lengua was cooking in, I ladled that into a pot of pinto beans that have been cooking down. I'm going to saute down an onion. It's going to get crispy on the sides, on the edges. It's not going to be fully like, I don't know, French onion soup browned, but I'm going to let it caramelize. It's a beef tallow, and then puree that with an immersion blender. So we have refritos for those who want it. This entire bowl right here winds up being, based on my guerrilla math, this winds up being about $80 worth of barbacoa. Next time you go to a restaurant in Central Texas and you wonder why tacos are expensive, that's why. And we can always thin it out with various things, but I'm going to take this, and this has got these little gripper, zipper, whatever. I'm just gonna slice that off because I just want the plastic for the bag. There we go. And then I'm going to slice it down the edges to get it to open up on one side at least. There we go. So we've got that open. We're going to use that in our tortilla press. If you do not have a tortilla press, I recommend you get one. This is, again, the first time I've done this, so this is going to be super, super interesting. Put that aside. For now, what we're going to wind up doing, and let me see, how do I want to arrange this? Because I'm going to form this into balls first, and I don't exactly know how large to make these. Now, when I did this, I made an executive decision. I looked at recipes online, and they were saying if it cracks, it's got not enough water. It looks like it's staying to me, and this doesn't have gluten, so you can knead it without any issue. I'm just gonna roll it into balls that are about the same size and put it on the foil and just let it sit. This has had a chance to sit for a couple of hours. I put the stock, essentially, if you want to call it that, from the beef cheeks and the lengua, the cachete. I put that into the masa itself. I did not add a huge amount of beef tallow, which was part of the debate I saw online. It's always interesting to find out culture, traditions, what people are doing, because people were complaining that you're supposed to only put warm water in with masa harina. I also bought one that was already nixtamalized, and if you're interested in nixtamalization, it's like a really interesting process. They still have no idea how they figured it out. But anyway, we're gonna make equal size balls here, and I think that's got the right amount of moisture to it. This had a chance to sit. And you see how it's like, there's a little bit sticking to my fingers, but it's not excessive. I think that's what you want as far as the texture is concerned. I'm going to cook them in a cast iron skillet with a little bit of beef tallow. and we will see how they turn out. This is the first time doing this. I will say this, I'm in Central Texas. Part of the big debate is not only barbecue, but then tacos. Who's got the best tacos? And if you're in Austin, you get a hipster who just moved from LA telling you where the best tacos is. I would hear this when I moved in. So you grew up in Louisiana, not a lot of tacos. Even our Mexican restaurants, sometimes for Baton Rouge, they would have Cubans in the kitchen, so you get like black beans, like little variants, you know, stuff that you wouldn't see in Mexico or in Texas, at least, Tex-Mex. So when I moved to Austin, I really discovered more taco culture. As a white kid growing up in the South, tacos was like ground beef with some cumin and spices, you know, a crispy tortilla shell. You certainly didn't like just corn tortillas plain. That was just like, ugh, why they break? It doesn't, you know. And when I moved to Austin, it was like, wow, they make tacos out of everything. They make any kind of protein. They make beef tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos, fish tacos, just vegetarian tacos with mushrooms, on and on and on. The debate was, where are the best tacos? And those conversations I would participate in to see what people in Central Texas were dealing with. We've had a large influx of Californians here in Austin. The place is kind of turning into LA, as are the rents. And a lot of people who move in from California complain that they can't get good Mexican food here. And I think primarily what's happening is Mexican immigrants in the United States are happy to change things to cater to Western, European, dare I say, white people's tastes in Texas. So when the people who move in from California come here, a lot of the food that they're getting, I think in California, at least to some degree, it's coming from different immigrants in Mexico, different regional variances. So they're wanting like burritos, for instance, which Texas doesn't have a strong burrito culture. It's just slight differences in Mexico. If you're ever looking for more, there's an excellent series that I have not watched fully because my stomach can't take it. Taco Chronicles on Netflix. They go into extreme detail of like a certain taco in a certain area and how it came about. Super interesting from my standpoint. Tons of culture. And here was the deal. I moved to Austin. I was blown away by taco culture. And here's what I heard. The tacos are better San Antonio and South. They're not as good here. I would hear this and it was like you'd pull, and 80 out of 100 people would be like, the tacos in Austin are the best. And there'd be 20 up who said, don't listen to those people. They're just rooting for the home team. I had a chance to go to San Antonio. I do prefer the tacos in that area. And guess what? When I went down to Brownsville and McAllen, you're right on the border. I literally drive from Central Texas, where I live in Austin, all the way down. It's like 6 to 8 hours to Brownsville. The tacos, I ate a taco there that I just went, I think it was Ultimo Taco. I ate tacos there that I was like, if I could transport this back to Austin, I'd be a millionaire. I was like, what, like, it's so hard to explain. And when it comes to cultural changes, cultural shifts, being from Louisiana, people from Louisiana will complain, we can't really get good gumbo in Texas. Maybe Houston, but it's closer to Louisiana. It's a constant, ongoing like complaint with people because it's only 6 to 8 hours away, but they don't do the roux right. They don't do this right. They don't do that right. This, as a test for me, I think it's important for me to do stuff for the first time on camera because I want to fuck these up and have you go, oh, gringo, what are you doing? Like I have to learn, right? And you learn mainly from trial and error. And it's probably more error than anything else. So you see how it's sticking, but it's not particularly sticking to my hands. I think we got enough for one more in there. So when I went to Brownsville, to give you an idea of some of the cultural differences, I went to a massage school to teach, and I would say 75% or so of the students are of Hispanic ancestry in some form. So lots of them speak Spanish. They're right on the border. They have family in Mexico, on and on and on. And I mean, it's like next door. You know, it's like going to the county over is kind of the deal. Let me break off of one of these. This doesn't have quite enough. And I want them to be about equal. Find one of the larger ones and break that off. There we go. So in the lunchroom at the school, you go in and there's a microwave so they can heat up their food. And all the kids would bring their tacos wrapped up in foil, which, you know, is different. It's not what I'm used to seeing. And what blew me away was there was a communal bowl of salsa sitting on the microwave. So the kids would go up, they'd take the foil wrapper off their tacos, they put it on a plate, heat it up, and then they would just spoon over some salsa that somebody made and brought. But it was like this communal condiment. As a white guy, it was just the weirdest thing because I'd never seen that before specifically. And we're going to just brown this onion, and you do not have to be nice. I'm actually going to come in and just slice the end off. This is just a partial. I didn't want a full for the amount of beans I have. I'm going to do that, and then the ends, you see where it dried like that? I'm just going to slice that off. That's going to go in the compost pile. The rest of that I can pull to the side. Here's a bowl. So all these bits. I have a tendency, like most people in Louisiana, to take wherever I move to, which is Texas, Austin. I immediately was trying to understand like barbecue culture. And barbecue culture was like, what the hell is going on? Like at that time, I'd look on like Facebook or say Craigslist, and somebody would have like a smoker, but the smoker was part of like a truck attachment. It was this goddamn trailer. And I'm like, dude, how many fucking briskets are you smoking? And then it dawned on me one day, because I was thinking about it, and the issue is in Louisiana, crawfish boils are a part of the culture, and we use the meat from the crawfish boil in other dishes. The same thing happens. The crawfish boil is like a communal event. It's a social event in South Louisiana. It's not just food. And the same thing I think happens with barbecue. Salt lick gets a lot of talk, but the salt lick is named after what they do with the animals, where they give them like a salt lick and all the animals gather there. Barbecue and food and Tex-Mex in particular in Central Texas is home. To give you an idea, I took Cece to Jamaica for a work event we were doing, and we're in Jamaica, we're eating oxtails and all this great food, and at some point Cece goes, but I want queso. That is the most Texan Central Texas girl Tex-Mex thing I could even come up with. That is just so completely Texan that you cannot get away from it. A lot of these recipes, if I do in part or I don't cover the full thing, just understand that I'm going to be doing it later. And I'm going to check my cast iron skillet over here, because I'm probably going to cook off one of these tortillas and see what it looks like. I just wanted to coat that with a little beef tallow. And I'm trying to get that onion just to caramelize. I'll probably try to get you a vision of that. So barbecue culture is like this crazy thing in Central Texas. It means like a huge deal to the people here, and it's hard to conceptualize culture itself. If you're in China, Sichuan is different than like other regions. If you're in India, you know, northern India and southern India with like coconut on the coast, it's like it's different from region to region. And those regional variants happen primarily, you ready? Here's the geography lesson, north to south. Because as the weather changes and the climate changes, they can grow different crops. So you wind up with Italian food, massive diversity. Mexican food, massive diversity. Chinese food, massive diversity. Indian food, massive diversity. The United States, the breadbasket, a little more uniform. Not completely, but think about it for a second. When you got a different climate, you're growing different crops, and people are trying to use those different items. And to give you an idea, I started to understand Texas food a whole lot when I started gardening, and you realize that Texas, it's really hard to grow crops here. I had a guy in California one time, ask me, he's like, I heard people in Texas eat vegetables that aren't organic. Is that true? And I'm like, dude, our organic broccoli comes from California. It comes from here. Like, you have some of the best soil in the United States, and you have access to immigrant labor. Like, it's like culturally, this is why chili, barbecue, and tacos are such a big deal. One, they're beef centric. Longhorns can eat scrubland. They can survive in Texas heat when it's 102 degrees outside. I don't even grill during the day. I wait until the sun sets and I get some shade because it's too damn hot. I'm gonna go ahead and roll one of these out. I've never done this, so again, if you see this and you're like, oh my god, it's fucking it up, well, this is how I roll. Let's grab one of these and just try this and see. I wonder if I made these too large. I'm gonna flatten it out there, bring it over. Hello. That looks like a mighty nice tortilla. I'm gonna roll that guy out. It's like thick, man. It's got some texture to it. I don't think I'm gonna roll the rest out. I think I just want to do a couple right now. I need to talk to Cece and Jack and figure out when they want to actually eat so I can finish the rest of these. And the refritos aren't quite done. I think that onion has got about just the amount of brown I want on it. Let's see about these onions first. Yeah, that looks like it's got some color. Let me see if I can show this to you on camera. I'm gonna turn this so you can see what kind of color I've got on the base there. It's just a little bit of that fond. That's really just gonna flavor this, and I'm gonna pour the beans right back in. Let me take that out. Now, this is a little less flat than I find refritos in some restaurants. This is just me playing. And remember I said in Louisiana you want to like take things and like make it a little better sometimes? This is one of those changes that I made to Tex-Mex itself. I just felt like like most people in Louisiana, we might get a little better. I'll change it, and it's basically a combination of a little bit of French technique with beans. Like, I've never had refritos where they cooked it down that much, but I wanted to go ahead and try it one day, and I love that caramelized like onion flavor, just a little bit added to the beans. The tortilla looks pretty good. I don't know if I have it too hot, too cool. We'll roll out another here. Let's see how this does. Looks pretty good. Got a little flat on one side. I'll just leave that there. And let me take the lid off, see if this is pulling some of that fond off of there. Okay, I'm gonna leave the lid on this, on the beans, but I'm gonna turn the oven or the stove off right there. I don't know how hot this is supposed to be. I'm just gonna let that sit for another minute. I'm gonna turn it up just a bit. It is cast iron, but I think I don't have just the right temperature just yet. It's a lot like pancakes. I'm told that you can like sacrifice the first tortilla sometimes. And if you don't render your own beef tallow, we'll talk about that, because you need to start. Beef tallow, I think I talked about seed oils in a previous episode. I make a point to try not to eat a ton of seed oils, and beef tallow is one of my main cooking fats. I eat a ton of butter, tallow, lard, bacon fat. I don't eat a lot of seed oils generally, and animal fats I just prefer. Now I need my spatula. Let me get that out of the beans and cover it up. Now I want to see what this looks like color-wise on one side. You got to be careful with cast iron. I had a pan recently. I have a stainless steel. I think it's not a Tramontina. I forget it's a Califon, I think. And it's a like stainless steel pan. And I put it in the oven and forgot and just went and grabbed the handle and just burned the shit out of my hand. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh, yes. Wow, that looks nice. I wonder what the texture is going to be like. I wonder if I need to roll that like thinner. That just looks like it's gonna crumble. And that's the one thing I can't quite figure out. I don't know if maybe I have to have a little bit more moisture in the tortilla itself. But again, this is something I wanna try. If it doesn't work, I'll just use bag tortillas, it's fine. I'm not gonna lament. It was only like $4 for a bag of masa. It's inordinately cheap. Tallow there, you can see it's starting to smoke. I think I got the temperature up the way it should be. Now I'm going to turn it down, put this back on. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute because I don't know if that's going to change the texture or not. Oh man, that feels more like a pancake or something. I don't think that's quite thin enough. Maybe the next one, I'm going to half this and try it out and see. If I roll it into a smaller ball, can I get it to be a little bit more thin? Or do I have to be mean when I press it? Let's go ahead and put it on here and see. Looks like it's just making a smaller one. I feel like the amount of moisture in it is fine. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, I don't know, we'll experiment and see. These are doing a little bit better. I'm gonna turn this guy over. He's got a little fat, little color there. The second one I think did a little bit better. Let me roll out, or let me take this other one, put it on, see if it does any better. These are a little bit smaller. I think they got a little bit more thin. We'll see how that does. So as I was saying about taco culture, in Austin, I remember somebody moved in, I think they moved in from Florida. And in Florida, they had a little bit more of a thing with like breakfast burritos. And she was in a small town here in Texas. She had just moved to town. She was at a small, like little local, restaurant. And she asked someone, she heard breakfast taco and she said, "What's a breakfast taco?" It was like a record scratch. Like everyone just like stopped and went, "Do you not have culture?" It is so deeply ingrained in the way Texans do things. And to give you an idea, here in Austin, you can get, barbacoa tacos. I love them. That's part of the reason I decided to make this. And I would go places, and typically what they do for breakfast tacos is they'll put like some barbacoa with some egg, usually a little bit of like little cups of salsa, red or green, and it's just wrapped in foil. You get them in a paper bag. You'll just get 3 or 4 tacos, breakfast tacos, big deal. Served everywhere. Taco Deli sells so many that they like deliver, 100 damn tacos to a local coffee shop because people go in to get coffee, but they could pick up a taco while they're there. So I was in Brownsville. I went to this small diner. These lovely Mexican ladies were in the back cooking, and the waitress came up, and she can tell, white guy, probably didn't speak Spanish, in broken English and in broken Spanish, we communicated, and I said, dos barbacoa tacos. And she went, sir, they're huge. And I went, like, in other words, I'm ordering the tacos they get for breakfast here in Austin. They're 2 small little tacos. She's like, sir, they're huge. And I'm like, how many do people normally order? And she's like, 1. And I'm like, all right, give me 1 barbacoa taco and coffee. She comes out 10 minutes later with a full plate-sized tortilla folded in half that's flour with barbacoa on the inside. It's so large, I had to eat it with, I could have rolled it up, I guess, but a fork and a knife. That, in Austin, is not a breakfast taco. The deal is, when I was at the school, I was talking to the students. Some of the students are speaking Spanish. I even had a couple kind of apologize to me, and I'm like, apologize to me? It's like, I'm the one who doesn't speak Spanish. It's like, I'm the one who's got to learn here. You speak 2 languages. I got to catch up. So I asked the teachers and the students, I was like, hey, what's the deal with like the tacos? Like normally in Austin, a breakfast taco is this smaller thing that's like wrapped up. And they told me that, oh, well, for breakfast we eat flour tortillas, but for lunch and dinner we have corn. Who knew? Now, I also don't know, because that's still, to me, Tex-Mex. It's right on the border. You go into Mexico, and in the interior, Oaxacan cuisine is its own thing. It's got its own flair from like local indigenous cultures and things. So thinking of Mexican as like one homogeneous thing is the same thing as thinking of Italian as one homogeneous thing. It's not. It changes from region to region based on what's available. Now let's see if I have fucked this up. That is probably a slightly more pliable tortilla. Now I did take these, and what I decided to do was I dipped them in the what do you call it? The drippings from the cachete and the lengua. So I had that out, so I went ahead and dipped these to give it a little bit more moisture. I wanted to see if that made any difference when I rolled these out and they're a little bit larger. Come on, stay there. Stay there. There we go. Much larger. And again, my first time. If I screw it up on camera, we just screw it up on camera. We learn next time. Turn it this way. There we go. Much, much larger. Almost too big that time. Little broken pieces. We'll try that. I don't know if that's the right amount of moisture or not. That might be better. It might not. We'll just stick it on there and see. We'll find out soon enough. Doing something new for the first time like this, there's a very direct reason I wanted to do this on camera the first time, because I want to document the challenges and like getting the texture just right. I also had to take this when this plastic is slick enough, when I pull it over and start to press, it'll slide. So if I push it in and let it get a little bit of a grip, it makes it like a little bit more round, exactly the way I want. I tasted the initial one. It was a little too thick. The flavor is amazing. Way better than any like store tortilla I've ever had. The only ones I can think of, maybe at Ultimo Taco, there in Brownsville, their tortillas were just amazing. And to this day, I don't know if it was a mix of maybe flour and corn, because it had just the most amazing, like, soft texture. And then see if I think it needs anything, but you can see the thickness there. Oh man. Oh, that little bit of oak from essentially the stock, like, totally permeates the beans. It's got this viscous mouthfeel. It just coats my entire mouth with that fat, smoked, oaky flavor. And oh, man, that's much better, much thinner. And also I like the size a bit better. Man, I can't get over the beans. Good God. Oh. It's crazy. It's like I can just, I mean, it just reeks of the cachete, that beef cheek. The mouthfeel is like so thick. Completely just broken down and pureed. That was another reason I didn't make a big deal about the onion and the size. If you're doing like French onion soup, sometimes you want those little strings of onion, but with this it gets pureed, so it doesn't really matter. The more surface area it's got, it's also going to cook faster. All right, guys, we are going to toss one of these together so you can get an idea, but I have an entire bowl of this barbacoa, and I'm gonna stack it a little bit thicker than I usually get it at a restaurant. Now, you've got a mix of cilantro and onion, which is what I'm gonna use. I really like cilantro and onion on mine particularly. I have a little bit of guacamole. Guys, you didn't make guacamole yet? And I've also got some doña, which I'm gonna put just a little squirt of that. And let's try this out. Oh my God, it holds, guys. I think I could work on the texture of the tortilla. These are so much more fragrant.
SpongeBob, do you think they'll invite us to the carne asada?